You guys, we are so excited, number one, to be doing SheBoss. It's been a minute since we've had a SheBoss. We've been a little bit busy with some projects going on, but I don't think there's any better way to kick it off than to do so with you, Shannon. So cheers to you.
Yes.
Happy Friday.
Yes.
We are so excited that Shannon Fisher, one of the co-owners of Lemon Lavender in downtown Madison, is going to be speaking with us today. And you can see behind me, but the most beautiful retail shop sits in downtown Madison. And we walked in this morning, and not only the ambiance of the environment, but the smell. Like, I want to camp out here and just hang out. Like, it smells like when you walk into the Westin Hotel, and it has that, like, you know what I'm saying? It just has that very peaceful smell. So thank you so much for letting us spend some time with you today.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Really do appreciate it.
Yeah.
Really do appreciate it. So Shannon and I have been, we've chatted a couple of times over the course of the last few months and have seen her and her business thrive. You recently won an award with the Madison Chamber of Commerce for, so we'll talk about that a little bit, but man, Lemon and Lavender has just exploded. So we're going to give you guys an up close and personal tour, which I'm really excited about. But let's start with you and start with a little bit about your background and just tell us about your background, how you came to be, and we'll sort of go from there.
Yeah. So my background is easy peasy, right? You graduate high school and go off to college. So I have a BSBA in accounting, and then I have a master's, my MBA. But I have worked in corporate and small business as the accountant and always the sole accountant. So just doing all of the things. Very data oriented and just, I love numbers. I love all of that information. I tell everyone here that I just kind of run the back office, and that's where I like to be. I'm an introvert by nature. And so people really not my thing. Not that I don't love people, but I prefer to be in my own environment.
Yeah.
So I've done accounting for over 20 years probably.
Wow.
And then this little idea came about. I do have a business partner, Brandy. You've met her.
Yeah.
She's great.
Yeah.
And so then we decided that we would launch into LL, and what this town needed was what LL provides.
Yeah.
So we're here now doing this. I retired from my day job, which was a huge feat.
Yeah.
In order to do that.
And you guys started Lemon and Lavender, and how long ago?
We started Lemon and Lavender in 2021. So COVID was still active at that point.
Who starts a business after COVID? That's good. Someone with a firm idea, tell you what. And the fact that you guys have done so well is so telling. So
I think the key is really to having that business model down and not maneuvering away from it.
Yeah.
And so we were extremely intentional on how we were going to be a business and what that looked like and all the steps to it.
Yeah.
And it was hard at first. Like we opened when we were still having the 6-foot rule, where you had to stay 6 feet away and you had to wear that.
I feel like that was so, it was right. It was like hula hoop. Stay out of my hula hoop.
Yes. And so it made shopping in our 225 square foot store very difficult.
Yeah.
But it worked, and people were very receptive to the idea and what we do.
So this is a very interesting concept that I think not a lot of people are familiar with. So it's a refillery, and one of only 2 refilleries in the state of Alabama, the only one in North Alabama.
Yes.
So come down and check it out. But tell us a little bit about that, because I think there's probably, I think that there may be some skepticism around it, maybe not really confusion around it. Really, what's the so what behind it? What's the benefit behind it? Obviously much more eco-friendly for the environment, but talk a little bit about the why you guys decided to start the refillery, what someone can expect from engaging with the refillery, and how that can kind of maybe impact their personal health and wellness.
Yeah. So refilleries are not new. They are new to our area, the South. I think historically kind of everything trickles down slower than it's going to hit the Northwest and Northeast and things of that nature. So a refillery in general is not a new concept for businesses. Basically, it is a pay by ounce situation. And so you can come in with your own containers. We always have free containers. We actually partner with Phoenix Glass Recycling. They're local.
Yep.
They give us free glass.
Yeah.
And so we put free glass out for customers.
And Phoenix, is it a local glass recycling company?
Yes, they are a local glass recycling company. And so they actually came into the store and said, we want to partner with you.
Wow.
And so we started talking about what that looked like. And so you can buy containers, you can get free containers, you can bring your own. I laugh and tell customers, I'm like, I don't care if you bring in plastic. The point is not to go out and buy new plastic.
Right.
That's where we're at.
Yeah.
We don't want to have more plastic hitting the landfill. And so you can come in the store, we have cleaning and bath products, and you fill up the containers, and then we weigh them, and you pay by ounce. And so you're getting usually a better price.
Yeah.
You are definitely getting a better product. All of our products are clean. We have vetted our suppliers to the nth degree
With that.
to make sure that what we are bringing in is going to be beneficial, not just for you, but also for the environment. Some of the skeptics have argued about the plastic containers that we do have on the refillery, and they are there. However, our suppliers utilize a closed loop system. So when we get done, we can send them back the container, and they thoroughly sanitize it and incorporate it back into their manufacturing process.
Gotcha.
And so we're keeping it in their system. The other ones we can actually recycle in our home recycling. And so if we have one that doesn't qualify for a closed loop, Randy and I wash it out and take it home and put it in our recycle bin at home.
I love that.
Yes.
I love that.
Yeah.
So what's fascinating, and I didn't realize this before coming in, is that not only do you source different items, but you also make items here.
We do.
In the store too. I didn't realize that. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So Brandy, one of her passions is manufacturing. And so she came to me, a year and a half ago, and was like, I really want to manufacture stuff. And I was like, I really need you to research the law.
Right.
And make sure that we are okay.
Sounds fun. Are we going to go to jail?
That sounds great. I don't look good in orange. So we spent a lot of time researching just what we needed to do on our end. And then she started manufacturing and trying out the products. Wow. And, a lot of trial and error.
Yeah.
Along the way to perfect some things. But yeah, we started with just bath salts. That was our very first product she made. And then we just expanded on top of that. And now we do laundry detergent, dry shampoo, linen spray, a wool dryer ball spray. We kept our bath salts. People love those. But yeah, it's been fun. And we try to incorporate a new product at least once a year. It takes a while, obviously, to let one kind of come to fruition and make sure that you've got all the legal requirements.
Yeah.
Going on.
I'm curious about the process that goes into something like that. There's assumptions to be made about testing and scents and all that kind of stuff. But how do you come up with a new bath salt? How do you come up with a new product? Like, what does that process usually look like? Do you have a good focus group here that you kind of lean on, or is this your girlfriends that test stuff out? Or
it's a lot of girlfriends. It's a lot of almost looking at competitors and seeing what they're doing. You always want to make sure you're on the trends, right? I mean, that's part of a retail store is providing things that customers want at that moment. And so a lot of it is doing outside research of kind of what maybe our competitors are moving and then starting to look like, okay, can we do that? Yeah. And then once we start that process, the staff gets to go home with a lot of stuff. I bet. Yeah. Try a lot. People on the street get to go home with a lot of stuff just to see what they think about it. Yeah. And actually our last product that we brought out, we let our customers name it. So we went on social media and said, hey, we need a name. And so they got to be a part of that process.
Which product was that they got to name?
It was our latest Rima linen spray, Serenity.
Serenity, that's what they came up with.
That is what they came up with.
I love that.
That's what we used.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
It's a great idea. So let's talk a little bit about your journey in starting this business, with Brandy. How did you guys decide that, hey, I want to retire from my corporate day-to-day and switch gears? Like, what happened during that time frame that was the catalyst for you that really prompted you into that? And then if you can talk a little bit about the journey of entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
It's not always an easy one.
No.
And you face a lot of different challenges. Number one, not being an entrepreneur in the past, maybe not having just, it's your first rodeo, right? Like you make a lot of mistakes and you learn a lot and all of that, but also being a woman and going into an industry that, especially in Alabama, is not very common. I would imagine you had some doors closed on your face with the idea. So we'd just be curious to hear about that side of the journey.
Yeah. So for LL, Lemon Lavender, to open, Brandy and I had it sitting on a bookshelf. That's what we tell everybody. It was an idea that sat on a bookshelf that we were waiting. We didn't know. We knew we wanted to be in downtown Madison, but of course there's only so many spots in downtown Madison. And so we waited for about 2 years, 2.5 years maybe, before we actually found a spot. The catalyst for me quitting my corporate job was anxiety and COVID. I mean, I was really having some mental health issues, which is not talked about.
Right. Not enough.
Right.
Not enough,
it was something that we really need to shine a light on. so that the stigma of it goes away. I have been very open about my struggle with anxiety. I think that's one of the best things that people can do, so other people feel good about it and not feel so ostracized by having it.
Well, letting it out, I mean, gives a sense of relief, right, too, where you're not just challenged with that on your own.
Right.
You know, if you can share that with other people who can understand, I mean, it not to say that it shares the burden of the weight a little bit, but it does in some capacity.
Yeah.
Which is helpful.
And so I was really struggling getting up and going to my job, which I loved my job. I had been there for 12, 13 years at that point. It was just me and my bosses. It was a great job, great pay. I mean, everything, you know, on paper was amazing. But one time I remember standing in my garage and I was sobbing because I had to go to work.
Yeah.
And my husband said, you need to stop. And so we had LL going already. And I thought, okay,
Just need to change.
we're going to do this. And it was probably the best decision that I made for my own mental health to be able to almost take that off, you know, and not have that hanging over my head. Now, this beast has been different, right?
Well, I was going to say, you went from one extreme to the other. I mean, talk about different industries, I mean, granted, still using a lot of your fundamental knowledge to support the business, but this is a complete step in a different direction.
Absolutely.
Which is exciting. Well, very exciting.
It was a leap, and it was a leap of faith.
Yeah.
It was one of those where I felt very confident in the business model. I felt very confident in our business plan. And so once we decided that we were going to jump and I retired from the day job and came over here, it was just all hands in. And I was able to take whatever anxiety and, you know, adrenaline that was bottled up and really push it into this store.
Yeah.
And that has been huge. I like working with my hands and building stuff. So a lot of the stuff that we have in here, I've built myself.
Like physically have built herself. Shannon is a secret woodworker behind the scenes, which is fascinating. I love that.
It's one of my hidden talents.
I love that so much. Is your house just peppered with
No.
No, it's not. Okay. Do you sell the stuff that you make at all?
I have before, but I do not like creating stuff for
other people.
Yeah. I find that they have a vision in their head.
Yeah.
And I can't see that because I'm not in their head.
Yeah.
And so it's easier for me to do things that I see. And then if someone wants it, great.
Yeah.
And if someone doesn't, it usually comes here.
Perfect.
It works out great for us.
Exactly. It does.
So yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about you starting the business, because you obviously working in the corporate world for a long time. You had the idea sort of sitting on the shelf. Your husband recognized that, you know what, Shannon, it's probably time, and maybe it's time. So, you know, it's not that everybody, you know, and maybe you did with that idea on the shelf that you had sitting there, but not everybody knows step one.
Yeah.
What do you do? Like, I personally Googled how to start a business in the state of Alabama. Fun fact. What was your step one? What resources did you tap into?
You know, I think because of my foundation and my education, just in business in general, I already had a breadth of knowledge.
Yeah.
I knew business license, sales tax IDs.
Good.
I knew partnership agreements. You know, those were not things that I wasn't already either working with other entities and helping kind of create and make sure we were covered. And so really our step one was a location.
Ah, okay.
Like we couldn't really do a whole lot if we didn't know where we were opening. And so it's a funny story because we got a phone call on New Year's Eve from Jennifer Daniels. Oh gosh, I hope that's Jennifer Daniels.
Photography.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And so she's
Beautiful work, by the way. Jennifer Daniels photography. Stunning. Yeah.
And so she actually used to rent the upstairs of the Clay House, which is right down the road from us.
Okay.
And she called Brandy and said, hey, there's a space opening in the Clay House. Do you guys want to look at it? And so we were like, yeah, we'll look at it. And I am not an immediate decision maker, nor is Brandy. I like to think everything through like 5,000 times. Yeah. I am that person. And we walked in the room and it was like, this is it.
You just knew.
We knew.
Yeah.
Both of us knew, which is also very uncommon for both of us to be on the same page at the same moment.
When things like that happen, though, you gotta grab onto it because there's something to be said for that.
So we had rent due in 30 days. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, that's where we landed. Yes, we want the space. Oh my gosh, we have to pay rent in 30 days.
Yeah.
And so we worked tirelessly to get the vision of what the store looked like and the products and everything. And we opened, I think our initial opening was the 26th of January.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, truly.
So less than 30 days of knowing a space was opening.
Yes.
To when you physically opened your business.
Yes.
And had to pay rent.
And have to pay rent, like, because then you have that motivation, like,
Wow.
oh my gosh.
How in the world were you able to pull that off in such a short period of time?
So because it was an idea on a shelf, we already had the backbone. We already knew the fundamental requirements of what kind of products were we looking at. I mean, we hadn't actually sourced anything, before that, but we knew what the store looked like because we had talked about it for about 2.5 years. And so that made it easy. It was just a whirlwind of shopping and me filling out online applications for all the business stuff that you have to do.
Yeah.
And thankfully, we've been able to call some friends of ours who are bankers, and I'm like, I need a bank account tomorrow because I'm selling the product tomorrow, so I really need a bank account to hook it up to. So yeah, it was crazy.
That's when your network comes in, right?
Huge.
Big time.
Huge.
Yeah, big time.
We we have a friend who's our personal attorney, and so I was like, I need this done and filed immediately, and he did his part and we did our part, and everything.
That's amazing.
Was great. Yeah.
So what were some of the, I'm sure there were a couple, what were some of the challenges that were faced, let's say in those first 6 months that, looking back, right? Like, hey, if I were to start over, we're to do this over again, what were some of the things that you learned? And I will say, no regrets on any of this, right?
Sure.
It all helps you learn, and learning comes in those low points. I'm a firm believer of that. No low points, but when you stumble,
right?
That's when, the true growth happens during that time, for sure. So talk to us a little bit about that.
So in 30 days, we just didn't have a lot of time to test our suppliers, right? So you're going on a whim.
Yeah.
You know what you want to bring in, but you don't have time to vet that.
Yeah.
And so we went through a lot of suppliers early on that we were like, no, that's not going to work. Mm-hmm. But we have the product, so we're going to, we're going to put it out there. And it wasn't a bad product. I don't want to say that. It just wasn't the product that met all of our requirements that maybe we didn't even know we needed at that point to include packaging and like how they are part of their eco journey. That's important to us, that our vendors and suppliers also live that same life that we live in terms of packaging and everything. And so there was a lot of back and forth of, okay, that one didn't work, we've got to look for somebody new. Mm-hmm. And staffing. We both knew that we didn't want to be necessarily the face in front of the store. Yeah. Because we had a lot of responsibility outside of, checking someone out on a register. And so staffing's always difficult. I'd never hired a person to be my employee ever. I managed people, but it was a new experience of trying to navigate how am I a manager of the business that I own, because my investment is now different than when I worked for someone else. Yeah. When you work for someone else, you're going to do a good job. You're going to show up and you're going to do the work. But when you own the business, so different. It's different. It's different. You're like, I have bills I have to pay. This is my name on the line. Right. People are looking at me. Yeah. And if it's not successful, I'm the one who toes that line. Right. And
no one's going to love your child as much as you do, right? No. So they may not understand some of the sacrifices and all of that. So yeah, it's challenging.
It was difficult, and it took a long time to get to a staff place where we felt like these are our people. We look for people who want to do good by the environment themselves. When you have someone working for you who is passionate about something in the same capacity you are, it becomes very easy. Mm-hmm. But learning to be that manager, wow, it was insane to me, because again, I just like to sit behind a computer and run numbers and look at metrics and be like, yes, this works. No, this doesn't. So it was outside of my comfort zone to really train a person, because things that seem natural to me maybe weren't natural to other people. Yeah. So it was hard.
But you've got a good staff now. You feel good about it?
We have a great staff. Yeah. I could not speak more highly of them if I wanted to. They are amazing. They do everything. They know some of the stuff better than we know it. You know, I mean, I think that's how it works sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. So you guys started off in the Clay House,
Yes.
which is just back behind where we are now.
Yes.
In downtown Madison.
Yes.
So, and then this opened up.
Yes.
And so talk a little bit about that and how that sort of offered up a new opportunity for you all.
So we knew about a year in that we were ready to move. We needed to grow. We had hit our ceiling in terms of revenue and obviously space.
Yeah.
And so it was either you're going to close the doors or you're going to move. And the only place we wanted was downtown.
Mm-hmm.
And so we heard that this space was coming up. Beautiful space.
It is.
But it did not look this way.
Yeah.
It was awful, if I say so. I mean, it was had lots of different rooms and awkward rooms and small rooms. And so we just heard through the grapevine that it was going to open up. We came and walked it, and I said, there's no way. It was just, we're not doing this. It would cost too much.
Yeah.
They would have to take down all the walls. I'm not interested. And then about 30 days later, a couple months maybe, we heard that they were taking down the walls. And so we re-engaged with the landlords and said, this is what we want. And they said, okay. We told them our business model. We told them who we were, what we do. I mean, they already knew us just from being in downtown. But then they created the space to kind of my specifications. You know, I mean, I kind of said we have to have an office. We have to have certain spaces. I have to have a mud sink. And so they built it for us 22 months later. It took a hot minute to get everything done. But well worth the wait.
Yeah.
Well worth the wait. We actually opened our first day back here was on the Madison Street Festival.
Oh gosh, that was your first day open?
That was our first day open.
Oh my goodness, what a great way to celebrate.
We worked tirelessly. We did not find out we were going to open until, I think it was like 2 weeks beforehand, because we kept getting different dates.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you're going to open in 23, but it's going to be January. And then the date kept getting pushed back. So at some point you go, okay, what?
Right.
I no longer believe you.
Yeah.
My landlords are great. But at some point you stop believing that.
Boy,
And
incredible.
so
It's like, yeah.
when we got 2 weeks out, it almost was a repeat of opening at the Clay House.
Yeah.
Changing the business license because you've got a different address and redoing all your paperwork and then inventory, because I wasn't willing to just have everything sitting in storage. Yeah. And I knew my suppliers at that point where I knew I could get it in if needed. And so, yeah, about 2 weeks from them handing us the keys, we built everything that you see in here. We're the ones who put up the shelving. We cut the wood for the shelving. We painted the shelving.
Oh my gosh.
We brought everything in.
Wow.
So, yeah.
And then day open on Madison Street Festival.
With no internet.
Which,
It's fantastic.
Oh gosh.
Our internet went down. I mean, I already had it in place, but
Yeah.
it went down.
Stuff
that
happens,
fast.
yeah.
And I called them and I'm like, you don't understand. We have to have it. Anyways, we were able to hotspot that day off phones.
Good.
And so it was a great opening. Stressful.
It's very stressful.
Very stressful.
And Madison Street Festival is one of the most looked forward to events in Madison, Alabama. Which, I mean, the Chamber of Commerce and everybody in the city of Madison does such a phenomenal job of just turning downtown into just a beautiful celebration of small business and community and everything.
Yes.
And it's such a great event. Remind me when Madison Street Festival happens. Is it August? September?
First Saturday in October.
It's October. Okay.
The very first Saturday every single year. So the date changes, but
yeah,
Saturday.
It's going to be fun.
It's going to be exciting.
Yeah. And you are, so in addition to being a business owner, you are also a mom.
I am.
You have, how many kids do you have?
So between me and my husband, we have 6. And then they have significant others. So we claim a whole lot.
Yeah.
I have one biological son. My husband has twin boys and a daughter. And then I was previously married and I kept my 2 stepdaughters. So that makes up for 6.
Yeah, love it. And are most of your family based here in Madison or North Alabama?
So yes, so my family, my husband's family, all based here. The kids now live about everywhere. So one of our twins just graduated from MIT. And so we had one that just graduated from UAH and is moving to Boston to work. We have one who just came home from Charlotte. He was finishing his master's, and so now he's back here working. We have one who's a nurse in Georgia. I mean, there's
a little bit.
So we have 2 here at this point.
That's great.
So we do Sunday suppers.
Good.
The kids come over, we do Sunday suppers. It's a great thing.
I always had dreams when I was younger of having Sunday suppers at my house with my family. That was something I always wanted to do. And it's interesting. We make a very dedicated effort to have dinner around the table all the time. Like it's a very, but my oldest daughter went off to college, and you have this hole at the table now, right? And it's like, it just slowly starts to change over time as your kids get older. But
then they
bring that back.
They asked for the Sunday supper. It wasn't me. They asked me. When they moved back, they were like, "Can we please start Sunday suppers again?" We did it when they were in high school.
Yeah.
And so it was easy.
I love that.
But no, we started back because they just recently moved back.
I love that. Yeah, that is good. Do you guys have a staple meal that you always cook on Sunday?
We don't.
Or to kind of vary
but
a little bit?
We cook enough for them to take leftovers, and then they raid the pantry and the fridge. We don't
Still
drink
your
Cokes.
kids.
Yeah, we don't drink Cokes at my house, and so we buy them Cokes. So they go home with groceries.
Perfect.
And then food for a couple of days because they're in their mid-20s.
Yeah, that's perfect. Oh, I'm going to see my daughter next week, and all she's talking about is the food that I'm going to buy for her because she doesn't want to eat pizza rolls every day. Yeah. I'm like, well, you make that decision. So, but I'm glad that you're excited about this seafood and eating real food. It's just funny, like whatever. She comes home. I know she comes home and she just critiques me on what we have in our pantry. She's like, you don't have anything, and I'm like, okay. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you.
The first time my son came home from college, he was like, "Where's the milk?" And I was like, "We don't drink milk when you're not here. Like, milk's not a staple in our house."
What do you mean?
Yeah, he couldn't believe it.
Kids don't get it.
Well, go to the store. You have a car and you have money.
That's right.
Go buy.
That is true. Go do your thing. Yeah. So one of the things that I saw on the website that you guys are doing is you offer workshops, which I thought was fascinating. Everything from like sourdough making to, which I'm like, wait a minute, this isn't a bakery. What are we doing here? So tell us a little bit about the workshops, because what a great opportunity too for team building or girls' night out or even like a mommy-daughter date night or, whatever it might be. So talk to us a little bit about the workshops. And by the way, they're like all sold out.
Yes.
And like, holy cow. So they're doing very, very well. Yeah.
So our workshops started because we started our business during COVID. We found that there was a need for women to want to be together. We were all separate for so long and sitting in our houses, scared to do anything, couldn't do anything. And so once all those restrictions got lifted, we wanted to have an avenue for people to come together. And so it really came from more of a community, I don't want to say responsibility, but we had a space and we could provide something to allow people to come together. Yeah. So it started from that, and everyone loved it. And so we were selling out at the Clay House for our workshops. Wow. It was crazy. We were very surprised that people wanted that experience. Okay, so down here, we have been able to expand and have, I think our classes are usually 17 to 20 people, which is huge.
Wow. And they're hosted here.
We host it here in the store. We do our sourdough classes. We bring in a master teacher. We do not teach them ourselves.
I was going to say, are you bakers and holy cow, wow.
I will make sandwich bread because it's a day process. Sourdough is a little bit too much of a commitment for me.
Commitment.
For me personally.
The mother. How do you get, I just can't. I don't know. There's something wrong with me.
Well, come to one of our classes.
I think I'm going to have to.
You will be given a 100-year-old starter and... Well, then it's on you, so I can't refuse at that point.
You're on your
But we do. We bring here what we call our master teachers. And so...
Are they local?
They are local.
Yeah? Okay.
They are local. We make sure that we bring them in so that what we are sharing is real, true, factual information. And so our sourdough class has been by far the most popular. It sells out in 24 hours.
Holy cow.
It is insane. I think it's awesome that people want to do this.
Yeah.
One of the things I see, especially with our store and with refilleries in general, is a need to go almost back in time. Yeah. How to make life simple. How do we take away all the hustle and bustle and craziness and just go back to being simple? And the sourdough is one of those things, and people love it. And then we get pictures where they've baked it and it looks amazing. Yeah. But we also do chunky blanket classes. Those all cost money. We do free classes for DIY cleaning. So if you want to get into, I want to start cleaning with my own DIY products, we host classes to educate people on the ratios of cleaning vinegar to water, and just things of that nature and what you can use it on. And those we do teach ourselves because we consider ourselves the authority on that information. Yeah. But they're huge. We've got classes every single month, 2 to 3 usually a month.
Wow,
that's fantastic. On our social media, and then on our website.
Yeah, that's amazing. How fun.
Yes.
How fun. It's
Bree
great.
loves them. She is the teacher that teaches the ones that we host. She is the one that's usually here. She makes friends. I mean, it is so fun to watch. You know, other people make friends here and then they go off and they're friends. It's crazy.
It's great. Yeah. Well, and I love that you guys are, and we briefly spoke about this earlier, but I love that you all are, not to use a cliche phrase, but you're talking the talk and walking the walk, right? It's not just about like, and I know this is not what you're doing, but it's not about getting on the next trend of what's going to be something that, you know, but you guys are doing your part to create a more, you know, sustainable environment and educating people on how to do that as well. That way they can take those best practices into their home. That's a big deal. That's a really big deal.
I think for businesses who don't do that, it lessens that credibility.
Agreed.
I mean, if you walk into my home and you see plastic everywhere, that doesn't speak to who I am as a business owner for this entity.
Right.
And so it has always been very important in all aspects of what we're doing to try and be as eco-conscious and making those decisions that are going to impact the environment in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You know, and so we just hold our feet to the fire.
I love it. I love it. Well, kudos to you guys for what you're doing. It's amazing, honestly. And it's truly a unique gem, not only in downtown Madison, but in the state of Alabama. So definitely Lemon and Lavender, come check them out. They're absolutely amazing. Cheers to you guys and to your continued growth. So excited for you. You're welcome.